Good afternoon. Now, today we will see different types of proximity sensors. Proximity sensors means the sensors which do not come in contact with the objects. Therefore, these are the sensors which are measuring the quantities by generating maybe an electric field or maybe that laser source light, maybe an infrared light. These are nothing but proximity sensors. Therefore, proximity sensors are sensors that detect the movement or presence of objects without physical contact and relay that information captured into an electrical signal. Applications of proximity sensors are safety of humans and robots by avoiding collisions, inventory management, object detection, positioning, inspection, and counting. We have seen that automatic guided vehicles videos in that vision sensor was they have used that is nothing but proximity sensor. Then part detection in an industrial conveyor system in smartphones to detect how far a user is holding the phone from body parts. Capacitive switches in appliances, diffuser sensor in a public washrooms. Now, first proximity sensor is inductive type proximity sensor. First of all, I will explain. Now, this is the one tube is there. It contains this coil. It is connected with this oscillator. Then this trigger is there. Amplifier is there. Now, what is actually happening? First of all, I will tell. Now, when an AC current is supplied to this magnetic coil, what will happen? It will produce magnetic flux or magnetic field. Flux means field. Now, this flux or field it may move from north to south pole. Therefore, when an electrically conductive metal plate will come in between this magnetic field or magnetic flux lines, these are the lines, red color lines you are observing. Therefore, these lines are cut off by this metal object. And because of this, what will happen? AD currents are induced in this plate. And these AD currents, sorry, these eddy currents will oppose the original magnetic field, that is this red color lines, and it will trigger the here switch here, and you can detect an object or you can measure its thickness or anything whatever it is there on the target. Therefore, this is nothing but inductive type proximity sensors. We are going to see the video. Therefore, inductive type sensors are contactless sensors used to only detect metal objects. It's based on the principle of law of induction, driving a coil with an oscillator once a metallic object approaches it. An alternating current is supplied to the coil, generating an electromagnetic detection field. When a metal object comes closer to the magnetic field, AD currents build up and result in coil inductance changes. When coil inductance changes, the circuit that has been continuously monitoring will trigger the sensor's output switch. Therefore, what are the advantages? Contactless detection, environment adaptability, resistant to common conditions seen in industrial areas such as dust and air, capable and versatile in metal sensing, considerably cheap when it comes to price, no moving parts, ensuring a longer service life. Disadvantages: lack in detection range, averaging a maximum range up to 80 mm, can only detect metal objects, Performance can be affected by external conditions, extreme temperatures, and cutting fluids or chemicals. Therefore, this is nothing but inductive type proximity sensor. Now, next is capacitive type proximity sensor. See that in capacitor type proximity sensor, this plate is there, two plates are there. Now, how this field is generated in between this capacitor lines? Suppose this one plate is connected to the positive terminal, other plate is connected to the negative terminal. Now electrons are moving from this one plate to the positive terminal. Now you are knowing electrons are negatively charged particles. Therefore, this plate will become positively charged, and to this plate electrons will move. Therefore, this will become negatively charged. And when an electric current will be supplied, an electrical field will be produced like this. And when any metal object will place in this electrical magnetic field, then the capacitance in between these two plates changes. The capacitance in between the two plates changes. Therefore, we can get the signal or we can measure the quantity. Therefore, capacitive proximity sensors are contactless sensors that detect both metallic and non-metallic objects, including liquid, powders, and granular. It operates by detecting a change in capacitance. Whatever I explained, capacitive proximity sensor produces an electrostatic field when an object, conductive or non-conductive, approaches the sensing area. The capacitance of both plates increases, resulting in oscillator amplitude gain. The resulted amplitude gain triggers sensor output switch. Now, advantages: able to detect metallic and non-metallic objects, well suited to be used in an industrial environment, contains potentiometer that allows users to adjust sensor sensitivity such that only wanted objects will be sensed, no moving parts, ensuring a longer service life. Then disadvantages: relatively low range, though incremental increases from inductive sensors. Then next is higher price as compared to inductive sensors. Therefore, we will see the video once again and then you will understand it better.
Hello everyone, welcome to Instrumentation Academy.
Please listen the video.
In this video, we will discuss what is a proximity sensor and how it works. Proximity sensors are sensors that detect the movement or presence of an object without making physical contact with the object and converts that information captured into an electrical signal. Devices such as limit switches detect an object by physically contacting it, but proximity sensors detect the presence of an object without touching it. As these sensors are non-contact sensors, they do not cause any damage to the object. Proximity sensors do not use any type of physical moving parts. Instead, they allow signals to transmit through them when something that is being monitored comes in close proximity of the sensing area. There are many types of proximity sensors and they each sense the presence of an object in their own distinct ways. The two most commonly used proximity sensors are the capacitive proximity sensor and the inductive proximity sensor. Now let's discuss about capacitive proximity sensors. Working principle of capacitive proximity sensor. Capacitive proximity sensor is based on the principle of a parallel plate capacitor. Parallel plate capacitor consists of two parallel plates that are separated by a dielectric material which is a poor conductor of electricity such as plastic, glass, or porcelain. The two parallel plates are conductive and they are usually made of aluminum, tantalum, or other metals. A metal plate typically has an equal amount of positively and negatively charged particles, which means it is electrically neutral. If we connect a power source or a battery to the capacitor, a large number of electrons start moving from the negative terminal of the battery through the conductive wire. When these electrons reach the right side plate of the capacitor, the dielectric material will strongly oppose the movement of electrons from the right side plate to left side plate. As a result, number of electrons, that is the negative charge carriers on the right side plate of the capacitor, will be higher than the number of protons, that is the positive charge carriers. Due to this, the right side plate of the capacitor becomes negatively charged. At the same time, the electrons on the left side plate experience a strong attractive force from the positive terminal of the battery. As a result, the electrons leave from left side plate and will be attracted towards the positive terminal of the battery. Due to this, the number of protons will be higher than the number of electrons in the left side plate, and as a result, the left side plate of the capacitor becomes positively charged. This is how the charging of capacitor takes place. The right side plate has now developed a net negative charge and the left side plate has developed an equal net positive charge. This creates an electric field with an attractive force between them which holds the charge of the capacitor. The ability of a capacitor to store electric charge when a voltage is applied is called capacitance, and quantity measuring the ability of a dielectric material to store charge is called dielectric constant. The capacitance of a capacitor is directly proportional to the dielectric constant of the material between the two plates and inversely proportional to the distance between the two plates. There are two types of capacitive proximity sensors. The first one is dielectric type capacitive proximity sensor and the second one is conductive type capacitive proximity sensor. Dielectric type of capacitive proximity sensor. Dielectric type of capacitive proximity sensor can detect any target that has a dielectric constant greater than air. It has two parallel plates inside the sensing head which operates like an open capacitor. Here air acts as the dielectric. When no target is present, the capacitance between the plates will be very less. These plates are linked to an oscillator and a detector circuit. As the target which has dielectric constant more than air comes near to the sensor, the capacitance between the plates increases. Increase in capacitance increases the amplitude of the oscillation of the oscillator. When the oscillation exceeds a specific value, the detector turns on the output of the sensor. When the target object moves away from the sensor, the oscillation amplitude decreases, and when it falls below a threshold value, the sensor returns to the initial state. Dielectric type capacitive proximity sensors will sense both metallic and non-metallic objects. Conductive type of capacitive proximity sensor. In conductive type capacitive proximity sensor, there is only one capacitor plate inside the sensor. The target itself becomes the other plate of the parallel plate capacitor. The plates of a parallel plate capacitor should be conductive. So this type of sensor is used if the target is an electrically conductive material. The air gap between the sensor and the target functions as the dielectric. The plate inside the sensor is connected to an oscillator circuit that is used to generate an electrostatic field. As the conductive target approaches the sensor, the distance between the two plates decreases, due to which the capacitance increases and results in increase of oscillation amplitude. Once the oscillations exceeds a predetermined value, output signal from the sensor is generated, which indicates that the target has reached near the sensor.
Imagine that you get a deal at your dream product company. Do you have these skills to handle the toughest tech?
Now let's move on to inductive proximity sensor. Inductive proximity sensors are used to detect metal targets. An inductive proximity sensor has four main components. The first one is the coil. The coil generates necessary electromagnetic field. A cup-shaped magnetic core holds the coil. This core is necessary to concentrate the coil's magnetic field on the front area of the sensor. The second part is the oscillator. The oscillator is generally an LC oscillator. It produces radio frequency, which helps to generate an electromagnetic field. The third part is the trigger circuit. The trigger circuit senses the change in amplitude of oscillation and gives the signal to the output circuit. The last part is the output circuit. The output circuit has a transistor. After receiving the signal, the transistor switches on and gives an output. Working principle of inductive proximity sensor. Inductive proximity sensors operate on the basis of Faraday's law of inductance. According to Faraday's law of induction, when an electrically conducting object is placed in a time-varying magnetic field, an electric current called eddy current will be generated in the object. And according to the Lenz's law, the eddy current creates a magnetic field in a conductor, and this eddy current magnetic field opposes the magnetic field which created it. Now let's discuss the working of an inductive proximity sensor. The proximity sensor is installed in the area where we need to sense the presence of an electrically conductive target object. When the sensing coil in the oscillation circuit is supplied with an alternating current, a changing magnetic field is created around the coil. When the target object enters this electromagnetic field, some of the electromagnetic energy is transferred to the object. According to Faraday's law of induction, an electric current called eddy current will be generated in the object. This eddy current produces another magnetic field called eddy current magnetic field, and it opposes the magnetic field which created it. As the eddy current magnetic field opposes the magnetic field of the coil, the intensity of the magnetic field of the coil reduces. As the target comes very close to the sensor, the eddy current increases, decreasing the amplitude of the electromagnetic field. The trigger circuit monitors the amplitude, and when the amplitude goes below a predetermined level, the output state of the sensor switches from its normal condition. As the target moves away from the sensor, the amplitude of the electromagnetic field increases, and at a predetermined level, the trigger switches the output state of the sensor back to its normal condition. By this, we come to the end of this video.
Okay. Now, next is the range sensor. Different range sensors are there: infrared sensor, vision sensor, and ultrasonic sensors that we'll see. Range sensors mainly used to measure the distance between a reference point on the robot and the objects present in its workspace. These sensors uses photoelectric devices to determine the distance. Therefore, range sensors are classified in different categories. Ultrasonic sensors. First of all, we'll see what is meant by ultrasonic sensor. Now, this ultrasonic sensor, it consists of one probe is there. It will generate ultrasonic waves. Now, when that ultrasonic waves, it will travel, it will reach the object, and from that object, again, these ultrasonic waves are gets reflected. It is received by another probe, and by calibrating the time required, because these waves are there, it will require some time to reach this receiving probe. Therefore, some calibration is provided so that how much time it takes, that time is converted into distance or in terms of length, and we are getting the at how much distance this object is there. Now ultrasonic sensors, you will find its use in railway bridges or in railway industry, or to detect cracks in railway lines. You are knowing that railway lines are there or bridges are there. Therefore, what is done there? On the railway lines, this ultrasonic sensor is placed. Ultrasonic waves are sent by one probe, that is transmitter. Then that ultrasonic waves enters in that railway lines, and if some crack is there, immediately from that crack, that ultrasonic waves reflects, and it is received by that ultrasonic receiver, and we are getting at how much depth that crack, that rail lines are having crack at how much depth from the top surface of the rail. Or ultrasonic sensors are also used to measure the cracks in bridges. We are knowing how much thickness the bridges are having. Therefore, these ultrasonic sensors, same principle is there. If crack is present, from that crack, this ultrasonic waves gets reflected. It is received by that ultrasonic receiver, and we are getting at how much depth that crack is present from the top surface. Therefore, this is nothing but ultrasonic sensor. Ultrasonic sensors are used for detecting the presence of objects through emitting high frequency ultrasonic range. It does so through the conversion of electrical energy. Similarly to capacitive sensors, it can detect objects in solid, liquid, granular, or powder form as well. Sorry, here powder word should be there. The sonic transducer emits sonic waves. Sonic waves bounces off the object. The wave that bounced off is then returned to the sensor. Time that it took to emit and receive sound waves is then used to determine distance or proximity. Whatever outward, how much time it takes place for that waves or that sonic waves to reach the receiving receiver. Therefore, that is calibrated in terms of the length, and we are getting the distance, length, or proximity. Therefore, advantages: not affected by object color and transparency, not affected by external environmental conditions, reliable solution, works well in places with extreme conditions, able to be used in dark environments, low current consumption. Disadvantages: limited detection range, though capable of higher range as compared to inductive and capacitive sensors. Does not work in a vacuum since ultrasonic sensors operate via sound waves. Then not able to measure the distance of soft objects or ones with extreme textures. Therefore, this is nothing but ultrasonic sensors. We'll see its video.
The ultrasonic sensors with IO-Link from IFM, the solution for problematic surfaces. Reliable sensors are indispensable for conveyor technology. IFM offers precise ultrasonic sensors among other devices for cases like this. They can be used on conveyor belts for the detection of various objects. Ultrasonic sensors transmit sound, which is reflected by objects that move past them. They are particularly well suited for demanding objects like flat, shiny, and transparent objects, independent of form, color, and structure. But our sensors are capable of more. Using a reflector, objects are recorded independent of orientation. Even sound-absorbing objects like sponges are recognized without difficulties. Even precise diametric detection is possible with ultrasonic sensors from IFM. Another area of application for ultrasonic sensors is for continuous level detection in tanks. For differently sized tanks, we offer sensors with various ranges. For use in tanks, it is important that the sound does not collide with the inner wall, influencing the measurement negatively. A sound tube can solve this problem. With the help of this accessory, a smaller sound beam is produced. Even for tanks with even larger volume capacity, we offer suitable sensors with ranges of up to 8 meters. Via IO-Link, the width of the sound beam can easily be reduced or increased. Ultrasonic sensors with IO-Link from IFM, equipped for any range. Convinced? Learn more about ultrasonic sensors on our website.
Okay, this is regarding ultrasonic sensors. Next is infrared sensors or IR sensors. IR, in short form of infrared, detects the presence of an object by emitting a beam of infrared light. Infrared light is emitted from the IR LED emitter. See that this is IR emitter is there. The beam of light hits the object. See that this beam of light hits the object and gets reflected back at an angle. Therefore, it gets getting reflected back at an angle and it is received by that IRC receiver. The reflected light will reach the light detector, that is IR receiver. The sensor in the light detector determines the position or distance of reflective object. Therefore, same case as that of ultrasonic, how much time it requires for the light rays to transmit or to reach up to the receiver. That time is calibrated in terms of length and you are getting the distance between the sensor and the object. Advantages applicable for daytime and nighttime uses. Secure communication through a line of sight. Able to measure the distance to soft objects unlike ultrasound proximity sensors. Accuracy of the infrared sensor not affected by corrosion or oxidation. Then disadvantages affected by environmental conditions and hard objects, implying inability for usage through walls or doors. Requires line of sight between transmitter and receiver for communication. Performance dips over long distances. Therefore, we'll see one video.
आज इस वीडियो में एक नई प्रोडक्ट इंट्रोड्यूस करने जा रहे हैं। ये मैक्सवर्स की डबल टेप है, ट्रांसपेरेंट सिलिकॉन के अंदर।
Okay, next is microwave sensors. Devices having microwave sensors generate microwave signals which cover certain area across the space. When a person walks into the microwave zone, his body causes waves to reflect. This is detected by the sensor to take appropriate action. Now this microwave motion sensor is there. It is generating these microwaves, and when any object or person will come, that waves are getting reflected and how much time it requires to reach to the receiver, that time is calibrated in terms of distance, and we are getting the exact distance between the movie that object and the sensor. Advantages: sensitive to slightest movement, wide coverage range of about 120 meters, can detect any motion even beyond the walls or behind the doors. They have benefits of high interference immunity, high precision, and high reliability. They can be used in harsh environments where heat cycles are irregular. Disadvantages: prone to false detections due to high sensitivity. Sometimes they detect non-human presence such as animals, fast-moving objects in the air. Microwave frequency do not penetrate metal objects, and hence microwave sensors cannot reach beyond any metal obstruction. Microwave radiation is hazardous for health, hence low level radiations used. Now, whatever these ultrasonic, infrared, microwave sensors we have seen, again laser sensors we are going to see. Now, this somewhat part is related to our nature. See that in nature, bat is there, BAT, bat. Bat म्हणजे in Marathi it is called as Vatwagul. Therefore, how that bat is traveling in the night. That bat or Vatwagul is sending waves. It is sending waves in the night so that it can identify the object in between its path, in along the traveling path. Same principle is there, that bat is sending waves, and when that waves are striking any object, maybe that branch of tree or whatever it is, therefore immediately it sense that at this much distance or some object is there in between its path, and accordingly that bat is traveling. Therefore bat is one of the example in the nature which is using this such types of principle, that is waves, sending waves and again receiving it and identifying the objects in between their path. Therefore we'll see now video of microwave sensor.
In this video, we're going to be looking into this microwave sensor released by the app robot. What's new about this sensor is its mechanism is based on the Doppler effect. It has ear of antenna for both emitting and receiving microwaves. The frequency of the emitting microwave is around 10.5 gigahertz. Same as other distance sensors. The microwave sensor senses objects by collecting the echo of the EM wave sent out by a cell. Traditional sensors sense distance by measuring the time interval between emitting and receiving a signal. When other conditions stay unchanged, the longer this interval is, the further the distance. However, for this particular microwave sensor, instead of sensing the time interval, it measures the frequency shift of the echo. The frequency shift is only related to the speed of the object. When an object is moving away, the wavelength of the echo will be stretched, which leads to a redshift. Likewise, an approaching motion leads to a blue shift. The echo picked up by the antenna will be sorted out and amplified for spectrum analysis. When a frequency shift is detected, the sensor generates a high-level digital signal. Meanwhile, the LED indicator lights up. Despite of the fact that this microwave sensor is not able to measure distance directly, compared to traditional distance sensors, it has a larger detection range. with better sensitivity. It's even able to detect objects through a wall and can be operating under a wider range of temperatures. Using the sensor is rather simple. Set a sensing range from 2 to 16 meters by adjusting the onboard potentiometer. Connect into the circuit and install it at the place you want. You can visit our wiki page for the sample code and more details about the microwave sensor. The sensor belongs to the Jack Robots graphics series and is compatible with all other graphics series. It communicates with microcontrollers via distance, and the wire is coated in grain. Here, we build the security alert using microwave sensor. That signal is able to travel across walls. This sensor can be placed inside a room to monitor the outside. This is what it is. Whenever someone goes into the sensor, the problem.
Okay, this is nothing but microwave sensor. Now next is laser sensors. The definition of a laser sensor is that it is an electrical device used to sense minute objects and precise positions. This sensor uses a laser to produce light within a straight line. Its visible ray mark of the laser makes arrangement very simple. Laser light includes light waves with similar wavelengths. Because of this reason, the beam travels in a parallel direction. Therefore, what are the advantages of laser? The range of measurement and distance is large. Second, resolve capacity less than 1 micron at a decreased distance. Disadvantages, the accuracy and the accuracy of the sensor can be affected by dust or other materials and damages to eyesight. Therefore, these are the disadvantages. We will see now this laser sensor video.
Unlimited users and unlimited projects.
Okay, this is nothing but the laser sensors. Now next, vision sensors. Vision sensors that are nothing but cameras. Therefore, different types of cameras that we are going to see it in detail in the chapter number 6. Still its vision sensor I will cover. Vision sensors. Vision sensors have many parts to work and are usually composed of a video camera, display, and interfere and a computer processor. Vision sensors require these components to automate industrial processes and decisions, record measurements, initiate, pass, or fail decisions, and observe the quality of analyzable products. Some vision sensors also contain an integral processor. These are called smart cameras. Vision sensors use images to determine the presence, orientation, and accuracy of surrounding objects. Vision sensors use a combination of both image acquisition and image processing, and multi-point inspections can be done using a single sensor. Vision sensors also provide a data interchange between the video camera and the computer processing unit. In the monochrome model, the image is captured by the camera, passes through a lens, and is converted into an electrical signal using CMOS compatible light receiving element. The brightness and the shape of the object are then determined by its intensity from each pixel from the light receiving element. The contrast between the white and black regions can be identified, as can the shape, orientation, and brightness. In the color model, the received light is separated into red, green, and blue colors. This is followed by determining the intensity of each color, even if the colors have minimal intensity differences. The objects are then determined by their color difference rather than their intensity. Therefore, these two models are there in case of vision sensors, monochrome model and color model. Now, steps in image sensing and processing. There are different steps. First is image acquisition, means that image is captured or it is acquired or photo is taken. That is nothing but image acquisition. Image enhancement, enhancement of image is there. Then image restoration, then color image processing, then wavelets and multi-resolution processing, compression, morphological processing, segmentation, representation and description, object recognition, knowledge base. Means these are the different steps in image sensing and processing. Therefore, we will see the videos, then you will understand.
Welcome to our Vision Campus. Our topics for today: what is a vision system? How is this kind of system structured? What are the benefits of a vision system, and where vision systems are used? The most powerful image processing equipment, known as a vision system, is right inside your head. It's your brain. A portion of this miracle tool is working around the clock on image identification, processing, ultimately, all artificial vision systems are trying to achieve the image identification performance of the brain for a very special level. Nowadays, these systems work astoundingly well, all at high speeds and completely inexhaustibly. I would like to provide you explain what I mean. When it comes to cookies, we are quite picky. We expect top quality at an adequate price. The cookie is always supposed to have the same shape and color. If it's a chocolate chip cookie, the chips are supposed to be distributed evenly. A lot of manufacturing know-how is necessary to achieve a result that meets the expectation of the customers. A vision system in the production line helps to constantly monitor important parameters of control. It identifies deviations and production errors to prevent defective cookies from ever making it into the packaging in the first place. And of course, those cookies should always taste good too. Cookies are just one of the many examples of products that require quality control using an image processing system. Using cutting-edge camera technology, companies from various industries can ensure fast, automated production and quality control, boosting efficiency and with it utilization of resources and profits for the long run. How's this kind of vision system structured? Let's look at the hardware first. The camera is pointed at the cookie. One of two different types of cameras, either an area scan or a line scan version, are used depending on the type of inspection task. A line scan camera has one single light-sensitive line known as the light center. It is used to record the image line by line. An area scan camera has an area sensor, which records the large area simultaneously in its entirety. Line scan cameras piece together the image from a large number of lines. This process is a bit comparable with a flatbed scanner that also records the image line by line and then forwards it to the computer. It works well when a conveyor belt is used to move the objects to be inspected. If, for example, I want to check a web of cloth for tears or faults, then a line scan camera is the right choice. An area scan camera has an area sensor and records the large area image simultaneously in its entirety. The process is fast, but if the object is moving quickly, such as on a conveyor belt, there can be motion. Let's imagine I want to check the size and shape of our cookie. An area scan camera is a good choice for this. Lenses are very important accessories for vision systems. Every camera needs a lens with certain properties in order to choose the appropriate field of view and to image the object in clear focus to the center of the camera. Depending on the application, cameras are equipped with different lenses to fulfill the requirements of the inspection task. To record a good image of our cookie for inspection, we need a light source to illuminate the cookie. This year we want to decorate another cookie solely with red chocolate buttons. If the task is simply to differentiate the blue ones from the red ones, for example, then a red light should be used. The red buttons reflect the red light completely and thus appear to be very bright, while the blue ones primarily absorb the light and appear as dark. The light source is thus another important component of the vision system. For this inspection task, a monochrome camera is fully sufficient. Color cameras should be used in situations where multiple colors are being checked, such as for checking the print on the cookie packaging. Within the camera, the brightness information for our cookie acquired by the sensor is processed into an image. That image data is then transmitted to the computer for analysis via the interface cable. Everyone wants compact solutions that are as simple as possible. To accommodate this, it's possible to use the same standard PCs we all have on our desk, or to opt for a highly compact embedded PC or a modular microprocessor system. Another option is an intelligent camera, where the computer is already integrated into the camera's housing. So that's the hardware. But what task is the computer performing to process the image data? The software determines this. For simple inspection tasks, image processing software configured by the user is often sufficient. If the task is more complicated, then in some cases a custom solution is required. A good, well-thought-out vision system featuring a camera, a lens, light source, interface, computer, and software makes it easy for the user to monitor the production process and intervene when faults arise. When working with fully automated production monitoring, the vision system can also send control signals to a machine to sort out the bad cookies. Our cookie example is typical for an application involving quality control in the food industry. Vision systems are used in many other areas, such as medicine, traffic control and monitoring, and in the retail field. I hope I've been able to shed some light on the topic of vision systems, components, and potential applications. Thanks for watching.
Okay, next video. I think same video is there. We'll see.
Welcome to our Vision Campus. Our topics for today: what is a vision system? How is this kind of
Same video is there. Now we will finish these two, then we will stop. Only two sensors are remained. Next is inertial measurement unit sensor or IMU. An inertial measurement unit is a device that integrates multi-axis accelerometers, gyroscopes, and other sensors to provide estimation of an object's orientation in space. Measurements of acceleration, angular rate, and altitude are typical data outputs. Microstrains IMU inertial sensors are commonly used in robot dynamic motion and terrain compensation, payload platform stabilization, and antenna and camera pointing applications. And IMU reports data related to orientation, velocity, and gravity, depending on which sensors are involved. This data is important for maneuvering vehicles or aircraft or simply for tracking this data for some other purpose. For instance, unmanned aircraft such as drones utilize IMU for reporting data to the operator or for automating certain maneuvering functionality with the assistance of a computer. A traveling robot may use an IMU to track its orientation and velocity at any given time. Therefore, most of the IMUs that you will find in the market consist of an accelerometer, a gyroscope, and a magnetometer. Such IMUs are said to have 9 degrees of freedom. Degrees of freedom in the context of an IMU basically refers to the fact that the IMU will report 9 different values. The accelerometer reports the acceleration force on the x, y, and z axis of the IMU. The gyroscope reports angular position around the x, y, and z axis of the IMU. And the magnetometer reports the strength of the current magnetic field on the x, y, and z axis of the IMU. Between the three sensors, you get 9 readings, hence the term 9 degrees of freedom. Therefore, we'll see the video.
We'll start with the accelerometer. It measures acceleration and change in capacitance. Its structure looks something like this. It has its outer plates. So with an acceleration in a particular direction, the mass and the capacitance between the plates change. This change in capacitance will be measured in the process and it will correspond to a particular acceleration value. Next is the gyroscope, which measures angular rate using the Coriolis effect when a mass is moving in a particular direction with a particular velocity, and when an external angular rate will be applied, as shown with the green arrow, force will occur, as shown with the blue arrow, which will cause perpendicular displacement of the mass. So, similar to the accelerometer, this displacement
capacitance to be measured, processed, and it correspond to a particular angular rate. Microstructure of the gyroscope looks something like this: a mass that is constantly moving or oscillating, and when an external angular rate is applied, a flexible part of the mass will move and make the perpendicular displacement. Okay, now let's explain how the magnetometer works. It measures the Earth magnetic field by using Hall effect or magnetoresistive effect. Actually, almost 90% of the sensors on the market use the Hall effect, and here's how it works. If we have a conductive plate like this and we set current to flow through it, the electrons would flow straight from one to the other side of the plate. Now, if we bring some magnetic field near the plate, we would disturb the straight flow, and the electrons would deflect to one side of the plate and the positive poles to the other side of the plate. This means that if we put a meter now between these two sides, we will get some voltage which depends from the magnetic field strength and its direction. The other 10% of the sensors on the market use the magnetoresistive effect. These sensors use materials that are sensitive to magnetic field, usually composed of iron and nickel. So when these materials are exposed to magnetic field,
Compliments and compliments. Everyone just loved my presentation, and I only spent 30 minutes on research. Others spent days on this research presentation.
Okay, this is nothing but inertial measurement unit. Now last point in the sensor is global positioning system. This system is there in our mobile. Global positioning systems help us find where we are and where we are going. They can also do the same for robots, which could have impact on fields from manufacturing to agriculture. The global positioning system is made possible by a group of satellites in Earth's orbit. The constellation of satellites transmit precise signals, allowing GPS receivers on the ground to calculate and display location information to users. The GPS is owned by the United States. By capturing the signals from satellites, GPS receivers are able to use the mathematical principle of trilateration to pinpoint geographic locations. With the addition of computing power and memory such as road maps, points of interest, and topographic information, GPS receivers are able to convert location, speed, and time information into useful display format. Advantages: work accurately in all weather conditions around the clock and around the globe. No subscription fee to use GPS signals. Generally accurate within 15 meters. Newer models with wide area augmentation system signals are accurate within 3 meters. Limitations may be blocked by dense forests, canyon walks, skyscrapers, bridges, or walls, making accurate GPS navigation difficult. Does not work well in indoor or underground spaces. Satellite maintenance, radio interference, and solar storms can cause coverage gaps. Therefore, this is nothing but global positioning system. We'll see one of the video.
नमस्कार दोस्तों, चैनल आईसीए टेक में ज़्यादा बढ़ गई है कि जिससे हम आसानी का मोबाइल पर कर सकते हैं। आज सभी स्मार्टफोन यूजर इन टेक्नोलॉजी का उपयोग करते हैं और इन्हीं में से एक है जीपीएस। आपने भी अपने मोबाइल में कभी जीपीएस का इस्तेमाल किया ही होगा या आपने गूगल मैप्स में जीपीएस का इस्तेमाल किया होगा। तो आइए दोस्तों, आज हम सब जानते हैं कि जीपीएस क्या होता है और कैसे काम करता है। अगर आप इसकी पूरी जानकारी प्राप्त करना चाहते हैं तो इस वीडियो को शुरू से लेकर अंत तक जरूर देखिए, आपको जीपीएस की सारी जानकारी मिल जाएगी। तो चलिए शुरू करते हैं। जीपीएस की फुल फॉर्म होती है ग्लोबल पोजिशनिंग सिस्टम। जीपीएस एक ग्लोबल नेविगेशन सैटेलाइट सिस्टम है जो किसी भी चीज की लोकेशन पता करने के लिए इस्तेमाल किया जाता है। इस सिस्टम को सबसे पहले अमेरिका के डिफेंस डिपार्टमेंट ने 1960 में बनाया था। उस समय यह सिस्टम सिर्फ यूएस आर्मी के इस्तेमाल के लिए बनाया गया था। बाद में 27 अप्रैल 1995 में यह सभी के लिए बनाया गया और आज हमें यह हमारे मोबाइल में भी देखने को मिलता है। और इस टेक्नोलॉजी का सबसे ज्यादा इस्तेमाल नेविगेशन यानी कि रास्ता ढूंढने में किया जाता है। अब ये टेक्नोलॉजी इतनी ज्यादा इस्तेमाल होती है कि इसे आप अपने मोबाइल में
हवाई जहाज में, रेल में, बस में, यहाँ तक कि गाड़ियों में भी इसका इस्तेमाल होता है। जैसे कि मैंने बताया था कि इसका इस्तेमाल रास्ता ढूंढने में ज्यादा होता है, इसीलिए ट्रांसपोर्ट में इसका इस्तेमाल सबसे ज्यादा होता है। इसकी मदद से हम कहीं भी रास्ता बड़ी आसानी से पता कर सकते हैं। तो सबसे पहले जीपीएस को 3 सेगमेंट्स में डिवाइड कर दिया गया है। सबसे पहले आता है स्पेस सेगमेंट, यानी कि जीपीएस सैटेलाइट्स, जो पृथ्वी के चारों ओर घूमती हैं और यूजर तक डाटा भेजती हैं। दूसरा सेगमेंट आता है कंट्रोल सेगमेंट, यानी कि ग्राउंड कंट्रोल स्टेशन। ग्राउंड कंट्रोल स्टेशन से जीपीएस सैटेलाइट पॉइंटर होती हैं। और तीसरा और मेन सेगमेंट होता है यूजर सेगमेंट, यानी कि जीपीएस रिसीवर्स, जो सिग्नल्स को हमारे डिवाइसेस में रिसीव करता है और इसी से हम पता लगाते हैं कि हमारी लोकेशन कहाँ है। तो ये तो थी सेगमेंट्स की बात। तो अब हम बात करते हैं कि अब जीपीएस काम कैसे करता है। तो जैसे कि आपको पता है कि जीपीएस सैटेलाइट की मदद से काम करता है, जिसके लिए अमेरिका ने 50 से भी ज्यादा जीपीएस सैटेलाइट्स लॉन्च किए हैं। वह सैटेलाइट्स 24 घंटे पृथ्वी पर सिग्नल भेजती रहती हैं। उन सिग्नल्स को रिसीव करने के लिए हमें एक जीपीएस रिसीवर की जरूरत पड़ती है। जीपीएस रिसीवर लोकेशन का अनुमान पृथ्वी के ऊपर घूमने वाले सैटेलाइट्स के समूह द्वारा भेजे जाने वाले सिग्नल के आधार पर करता है। हर एक सैटेलाइट 24 घंटे सिग्नल भेजता रहता है। रिसीवर उन सिग्नल्स का टाइम और उस सैटेलाइट्स का डिस्टेंस भी रिसीव करती है। रिसीवर बेहतर परिणाम के लिए 4 सैटेलाइट का उपयोग करती है, जिससे यूजर की डायमेंशन, पोजीशन यानी कि लैटिट्यूड, लॉन्गिट्यूड और एल्टीट्यूड पता लगता है। एक बार जीपीएस सिस्टम को जीपीएस डिवाइसेस का लोकेशन पता करने के बाद वह डिवाइसेस की अन्य जानकारी भी ढूंढता रहता है, जैसे कि उसकी स्पीड, उसका ट्रिप, उसकी दूरी और उसकी जगह कौन सी है और उसकी जगह से दूरी कितनी है। सूर्य उगने से लेकर सूर्य के डूबने तक का समय के बारे में जानकारी एकत्रित करता है। इससे एक अनुमान लगाया जाता है। इस प्रोसेस को ट्राइलेटरेशन के रूप में जाना जाता है। तो इसको हम आपको एक एग्जांपल देके बताते हैं। कल्पना कीजिए कि आप पृथ्वी पर कहीं खड़े हैं और आपके ऊपर आकाश में 3 सैटेलाइट हैं। यदि आप जानते हैं कि आप सैटेलाइट ए से कितनी दूर हैं, तो आप जानते हैं कि आपको रेड सर्कल पर कहीं पर होना चाहिए। यदि आप सैटेलाइट बी और सी के लिए भी ऐसे ही करते हैं, जहां भी ये 3 सर्कल इंसेक्ट होते हैं, वहां से लोकेशन का पता लगा सकते हैं। यही काम जीपीएस सिस्टम भी करता है। जीपीएस सिस्टम 4 सैटेलाइट्स का डाटा रिसीव कर कर आपकी प्रॉपर लोकेशन बता देता है। कभी आपने नोटिस किया होगा कि जीपीएस को परफेक्ट लोकेशन बताने के लिए 1 मिनट से ज्यादा का समय भी लग जाता है। यह इसी वजह से होता है। उस समय जीपीएस 4 सैटेलाइट से डाटा लेकर आपके परफेक्ट लोकेशन बता रहा होता है। तो आपको यह भी जानकर बड़ा गर्व महसूस होगा कि भारत भी अपनी जीपीएस सैटेलाइट्स लॉन्च करने जा रहा है, जिसका नाम है नाविक। तो यह हमारी भारतीय सेना के लिए काफी उपयोगी होगा। तो यह प्रोजेक्ट भी भारत सरकार काफी जल्दी लॉन्च करेगी, जिससे आसपास के देशों की भी काफी मदद होगी। तो जीपीएस लॉकिंग से किसी भी डिवाइस के प्लेस का एग्जैक्ट लोकेशन ट्रेस किया जा सकता है। तो आखिरकार सवाल उठता है कि जीपीएस लॉकिंग है क्या। जीपीएस लॉकिंग का मतलब है कि आपकी जीपीएस की लोकेशन एक जगह लॉक हो जाएगी। जो 4 सैटेलाइट से आपको डाटा मिलेगा, वो एक जगह आपको प्रोवाइड हो जाएगा। तो जीपीएस लॉक ट्रैकर मूविंग स्पीड पर डिपेंड होता है। जैसे कि कोई कार चला रहा है तो उसकी एक्यूरेसी कम होगी और उसका एग्जैक्ट लोकेशन भी फाइंड करने में टाइम लग जाता है। जीपीएस रिसीवर को किस तरह से स्टार्ट किया गया है, इस बात पर भी जीपीएस लॉकिंग डिपेंड करती है। और यह 3 तरह के होते हैं। तो सबसे पहला होता है हॉट स्टार्ट। अगर जीपीएस को अपनी लास्ट पोजीशन और सैटेलाइट के साथ ही यूटीसी टाइम का पता है, तो यह उसी सैटेलाइट की हेल्प लेता है और अवेलेबल इंफॉर्मेशन के हिसाब से न्यू पोजीशन का पता लगाता है। यह प्रोसेस आपकी पोजीशन पर कभी भी डिपेंड नहीं करती है। अगर जीपीएस रिसीवर लास्ट वाली लोकेशन के आसपास ही है, तो ट्रैकिंग बहुत ही फास्ट हो जाती है। दूसरा आता है वार्म स्टार्ट। इसमें जीपीएस रिसीवर लास्ट वाले जीपीएस सैटेलाइट के अलावा ओल्ड इंफॉर्मेशन को भी स्टोर रखता है। इस तरह से रिसीवर सारा डाटा रिसेट कर देता है और न्यू पोजीशन फाइंड करने में सैटेलाइट सिग्नल का उपयोग करता है। यह हॉट स्टार्ट से स्लो है, पर थोड़े ही टाइम में ट्रैकिंग कर लेता है। और तीसरा आता है कोल्ड स्टार्ट। इसमें कोई भी जानकारी पहले से नहीं होती है। यह अपनी ट्रैकिंग शुरू से स्टार्ट करता है, इसीलिए इसमें लोकेशन को ट्रेस करने में ज्यादा समय लग जाता है। तो आपको लगता होगा कि जीपीएस का इस्तेमाल सिर्फ डिस्टेंस पता करने के लिए किया जाता है। ऐसा नहीं है। जीपीएस का इस्तेमाल और भी जगह किया जाता है। जैसे कि जीपीएस का इस्तेमाल पोजीशन को लोकेट करने के लिए किया जाता है और जीपीएस का इस्तेमाल इमरजेंसी में भी किया जा सकता है। और जीपीएस की मदद से हम कारों की चोरी को भी रोक सकते हैं। और इसके अलावा अपराधियों का पीछा करने में पुलिस और जांचकर्ताओं द्वारा जीपीएस का उपयोग किया जा सकता है। आप अपने पेट्स पर जीपीएस ट्रैकिंग डिवाइस लगाकर अपने पेट्स को सुरक्षित कर सकते हैं। और इसके अलावा जीपीएस ट्रैकिंग डिवाइस आपके परिवार के विशेष सदस्य या बुजुर्ग को देखभाल करने में मदद कर सकता है। वे कभी कभी अकेले घूमते हैं और फिर उन्हें घर वापस जाने में कठिनाई होती है, और इससे भी आप जीपीएस ट्रैकिंग डिवाइस लगाकर उनको लोकेट कर सकते हैं। तो आपने इस वीडियो में जीपीएस के बारे में डिटेल में जाना, तो हम आशा करते हैं कि आपको इस वीडियो से पूरी जानकारी प्राप्त हो गई होगी। तो आप ये जानकारी अपने के साथ जरूर शेयर करें, तो वो भी जान सकें कि आखिरकार जीपीएस काम कैसे करता है। अगर आपको इस वीडियो से रिलेटेड कोई क्वेश्चन है, तो कमेंट बॉक्स में कमेंट करके हमसे पूछ सकते हैं। मैं आपका रिप्लाई जरूर दूंगा। अगर आपको हमारी वीडियो पसंद आई हो तो इसे लाइक और शेयर जरूर करें। तो हम ऐसी अमेजिंग टॉपिक्स को लेकर आते रहते हैं, तो हमारे चैनल को जरूर सब्सक्राइब।
Okay. Now this is nothing but GPS. Now these are the sensor selection criteria that we will see in next lecture, and we will see the actuators also. Now we will stop here. Thank you very much. I have taken your attendance. Now you can leave.